and just tap very lightly and gently where I want that concealer. Hey guys, Dr. Will Kim, dermatology resident here. Today I'm going to do a fun, chill weekend get ready with me. And I'm also going to discuss two topics, the first being sunscreen and makeup, and the second being my top 2 tips for anyone who loves wearing makeup but struggles with acne. So follow along. So I already did my skincare this morning, and first step was using the 6 Peptide Skin Booster by CosRx. This product, I love using it just for hydration, works really well under makeup. And my second product today was a vitamin C serum by Aven. This one has been a really gentle vitamin C that I do sometimes use under makeup, sometimes at night also. I will say this has a little bit of fragrance though, so just something to look out for. And then the last product I went in with today was my Haru Haru Wonder Black Rice Moisture Sunscreen, SPF 50+ and 4 PA+. This sunscreen has been so good under my makeup this entire year. I will say too that it seems to moisturize my skin really well. I live in a really dry climate, and being able to use sunscreen under makeup is so important. And I know that a lot of sunscreens are challenging to use under makeup, and my number 1 tip would be to really do light, thin layers, let it dry a little bit, and then put that second layer on, third layer on, just so you're getting enough sunscreen. Sunscreen is really important, as we know, and especially if you're a makeup lover, sunscreen is really going to help protect your skin from developing hyperpigmentation, early signs of fine aging too, and also help with your texture and tone in the long term. So I really recommend sunscreen for everyone who loves makeup. I promise you it's gonna level up your makeup game in the long term. Alright, so next we're gonna move on now to our primer. This is really the only primer I use these days because it's so good and so affordable, is the e.l.f. Power Grip Matte Primer. This one is, I think it used to be like $10 and maybe now it's $11, but it works really well, lasts forever too. This is still my first bottle. I've been using it daily for almost this entire year now. I just put a tiny bit on the back of my hand, barely any, and I'm just gonna take a little bit and apply it to areas where I know I'm prone to getting a little bit more oily throughout the day and where my makeup might be more prone to slip and slide. Certainly you don't have to use primer. There's some days where I don't use primer, but most of the time I do, just because I find for myself it really seems to prolong how good my makeup looks throughout the day. Another sunscreen tip I recommend is looking into Korean sunscreens, specifically the ones that are sold through Korea. There are some Korean brands that now you can find them in Sephora and Ulta, but a lot of the time when they're sold in US retailers, they do use US filters. And personally, for me, I found that when I use the Korean sunscreens with the Korean filters, it just seems to work a lot better for my skin, make my makeup look a lot nicer throughout the day as well. And so the website I would recommend getting Korean sunscreens from is YesStyle. And then for my foundation today, I'm gonna go in with my Natasha Denona HY Glam foundation. This one is in shade N6. I'm just gonna start with 1 pump today. And then to this 1 pump, I'm going to add a little bit of my Fluid Moisturizer Milky Toner half and half. On the back of my hand, I'm gonna add like 2 drops, so like this. And then I'm gonna mix everything together. And after I've mixed everything together, I'm gonna go ahead and just take a fluffy brush. Today, I'm using the Sigma Powder / Blush F10 brush. And what I'm gonna do is on the back of my hand, I'm just gonna take a little bit and evenly coat it onto my brush hairs. And once I feel like it's evenly coated on my brush hairs, I'm gonna start going in and doing light little thin layers, kind of swiping and pressing down at the same time, really focusing on the center of my face where I need the most coverage and working my way out. I will say when I first started doing liquid foundations, this was the technique I first tried, using more of those kabuki brushes. And those kabuki brushes, they give you a lot of coverage. And so I found that for myself, it just looked a little bit way too cakey on me. And so once I switched over to this more powder brush, it just seemed to help a lot better with my foundation application. And I would say for several months, I wasn't using this technique at all. I was only using that flat foundation brush or spatula technique where I would evenly spread it on my skin. Hair clips, so important. So I was using that technique of using a flat foundation brush or spatula to just evenly spread it on my skin and then using my cushion puff to blend it out. And that one, I would say it's a little bit more beginner friendly. I'm glad I kind of did that technique for a while before going back to this technique. I think if anything, it kind of helped me see what even layers look like. And that way when I'm using this technique, I'm not over applying. Because I will say, compared to that other technique, this one can lead a little bit more to over application if you're not careful. That being said, a benefit of this technique I found is that if you're more meticulous with your foundation application, it can really lead to you using even less foundation. So it could be a cost saving benefit in that way. And also because you're using less foundation overall, your foundation is gonna look less cakey. And really you're just gonna get like the most natural light layer on your skin. As you guys can see, I still have quite a bit of that foundation left, and I'm basically done using foundation on my face, and now I'm just going along my neck, making sure that my neck somewhat matches my face. It usually doesn't match perfectly, but you know, it is what it is. Now I'm gonna just take a look at my face and make sure I don't want to add any more anywhere else. It's really tempting to just go back in and grab more, but I think I can use what's left on my brush and just like evenly spread it out. And I'm trying to actively avoid right underneath my eye. A little bit is getting on there, but I'm trying not to put a lot under there compared to other areas because I am going to go in with concealer. And if you put like a lot of foundation underneath your concealer, you're going to be more likely to crease throughout the day. So just something to be aware of. Okay, you guys, so I'm all done with my foundation for today. I barely used any. I still have quite a bit left. That was only one pump of foundation that I mixed with my milky toner. And so I do think using this particular technique allows you to use less foundation. I still go in with my cushion puff after I've applied the foundation and just press that product in and really forming that nice flat layer on top of my skincare. Another trick too that I want to recommend is really waiting in between your skincare application and your makeup. It's really easy and sometimes necessary to go straight into makeup if you're really busy in the morning and maybe you're running a little bit late. And so I certainly understand that, and there are many times where I do that myself, but if you can wait, honestly, 15 minutes, it will make your application of makeup so much smoother and long-lasting throughout the day because you've allowed your skincare to fully absorb and dry down, so that layer is going to be nice and ready for you to then apply your makeup on top of. If you go in right away, it's going to be way too liquidy, and then you're going to end up with a big soupy mess. But certainly, if you don't have that 15 minutes to wait, then I would recommend at least waiting like a couple of minutes. And usually in that 15 minutes, I just do errands throughout my home. I will empty my dishwasher. I will feed my cats, cuddle with my cats, and anything else I need to do. Okay, you guys, foundation is done. And for concealer today, I'm gonna match my Natasha Denona foundation and go in with the ND HY Glam Concealer in the same shade N6. The foundation and concealer, these are both just so solid and so beautiful to work with. I think the foundation gives a nice, really healthy glow. I would recommend it for normal to dry skin, but I'm oily and I find that I can make this foundation work for my skin if I set it correctly and do my skin prep correctly. And then this concealer is pretty pigmented, so what I did was I just went ahead and put 2 little swipes on the back of my hand like this. And then I'm gonna take my brush, my BK Beauty A506 brush, and then just dip into that concealer here on the back of my hand. Dip, 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 dip. Make sure it's evenly spread. Go in and just tap very lightly and gently where I want that concealer. This type of kitten paw brush is really nice for concealer. It just makes it really easy, fast, and I do like how it's already designed to have this push-in technique so that you can really push that concealer in. Grabbing a little bit more, and then now going into the other side. And any areas that you really want to pop. And then certainly around my nose too, just to cover any redness. Here I applied a little bit too much, and so I just swiped it a little bit to sheer it out. A little bit, whatever's left. Alright you guys, I'm all done with my concealer. Now that concealer's all done, what I'm gonna do next is go ahead and set this concealer. And I'm just gonna grab like a nice little fluffy brush. This one is the Sigma E38 Diffuse Crease Brush. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit of my powder. Today I'm gonna be using the Huda Beauty Cherry Blossom Cake Easy Bake Powder. This one is so good for long-lasting makeup. I would say out of all my powders, this is like the one I will reach if I really need to stay mattified throughout a long day. For example, if it's gonna be a long day of clinic with a lot of cases and surgeries, then this is the one I will grab. But it's really easy to apply too much of this powder, so less is more. What I just did is I took my cap, I swirled with the powder that was here, and then I tapped off the excess. Because I grabbed way too much powder, I went into the palm of my hand and I'm just gonna swirl a little bit to evenly distribute it and then start tapping in the areas where I want to set my makeup. So under your eyes, any concealer, I would recommend setting it. Even if it says like self-setting, I still recommend setting your concealer. It just is gonna give it that long-lasting appearance. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit more, swirl, tap off the excess. And then grab a little bit more from that cap and then swirl, tap. I think that's another reason too why I love powder makeup in general, is that it just is so long lasting. Like even when I was only using the Bare Minerals powder foundations, they would last like so long, even when I was using them on a daily basis, because you really don't need that much powder. So we're all done with setting our base makeup right now, our foundation and our concealer. And then next I'm gonna move into using some bronzer to our face to bring back some of those natural contours. And the bronzer I've been using these days is the Makeup by Mario Liquid Bronzer. This one is so natural looking, it's beautiful I would say. I have the shade Light, which works for me in the winter time, but I think moving into summer next year, I'm gonna probably either get like a light medium or medium shade to mix with this one, because I think it might be a little bit too light for me in the summer. So I just took one pump, put it on the back of my hand like this, and then I'm gonna go and grab this Sigma multitasker brush. It's like a dense kabuki brush, but it also is angled so that you can angle it as you're pressing, but I found that it made my foundation look a little bit more strong than I wanted. So nowadays I really just use it more for my bronzer and blush. So what I did was just take a little bit, tap, tap, tap. I did put a little bit of foundation under here, so I'm gonna try to tap a little bit more gently. I do sometimes tend to be a little bit heavy-handed, so something I'm still working on with my makeup application. But I'm just gently tapping it all into my forehead to give it that nice contour and dimension back. So forehead is looking pretty nice and bronzed. Okay, and I'm gonna grab a little bit more on the back of my hand, dip it in, evenly spread it on the brush, and then I'm gonna go in and start chiseling out where I want it. This one is so like almost sheer and just easy to work with, so I really like it. Remember, light tapping too. I'm thinking about almost like stamping it on, but really lightly, because I'm trying my best not to disrupt that underneath foundation that I have on. So I'm just doing it really lightly and gently. A little bit more. And then what I'm gonna do is just take my cushion puff and then start to blend out around it so that I can soften any of those edges that I might have formed using this brush. Because I still have some left here on the back of my hand, what I'm gonna do is just take one of my brushes, my Sigma E35 tapered blending brush, grab a little bit, and I'm just doing it on here like normal. Blend it so that it's evenly coated on the brush fibers, and then I'm gonna start to actually apply it here, almost as my crease shade. Okay, so that eye looks good. I'm gonna move into this eye, and I'm just kind of putting it here as a crease shade color just to give it a nice wash of color, but also so that this area kind of is matching these other areas that I've bronzed, so everything is gonna be nice and harmonious. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Just gonna take a tiny bit more because I still have some left. There's barely anything on my brush now, but I'm just kind of like almost doing a really rough bronze contour right now on my nose. All right, things are looking pretty good. Take that brush one more time. Any edges where I don't love it, I'm just gonna tap it out. Okay guys, so bronzer is now done. I'm gonna move on to my blush. And I think for today's blush, I wanna try this Westman Atelier I bought. This one is in the shade Petal, and this was like part of one of the holiday packs. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna grab this powder soft blend brush, and then I'm just going to go like this so that I can get a little bit of that pigment on my brush. And then on the back of my hand, I'm gonna start to stamp it in, so I can just see the color that I'm getting. And I think this is a really pretty color, so I'm gonna start going in. Wow, this is really, really pretty and sheer. I like it. So I'm just like softly tapping, you guys. I do tend to tap a little bit too hard sometimes, but I'm trying my best to tap it a little bit more softly to just get that gentle wash of color. Yes, I love that. So we're all done with the blush for now. I am gonna put a little bit of powder blush on top later today, so I'm gonna leave it like this for now. And then what I'm gonna do is once again grab my little cushion puff and then just start going around here, blending this out. And the cushion puff that I'm using today is a clean cushion puff that I just washed, and I use them for just like a couple of days, and then I'll grab a new one. And then eventually, once the majority of them are dirty, I will wash them. And I do the same with my brushes. So I usually wash my brushes every 2 weeks, I would say. And so going to my question earlier in the video that I said I was going to answer about my recommendations for individuals who struggle with acne and who love wearing makeup. So my first recommendation is that you go see a board certified dermatologist who can help you with your acne. I think nowadays too, there's so much misinformation and so many people who are trying to make money off of catering to maybe people who are struggling with acne. And so I think that the best thing you can do for your skin if you're struggling with acne is to go see a board certified dermatologist. It is expensive, and I know the wait time can be long, but I promise you, if you go and you get that customized treatment plan for your skin, it is gonna save you money in the long term. Growing up, I struggled with acne, and I never saw a board certified dermatologist until I was in medical school. And so I basically was self-treating my acne for all that time. And I purchased so many over-the-counter products that were expensive. Some worked, many didn't. And if I could go back in time and help myself who was struggling with acne, I would have taken myself to a board-certified dermatologist, because yes, that upfront cost is expensive, but they can really make a difference long-term and save you money in the long run. So that is my biggest recommendation. My second recommendation is, I think that if you love wearing makeup like I do, and you struggle with acne, then I recommend that you always do a really solid double cleanse at the end of your day. Never go to bed or go to sleep with your makeup on. And that is something that I have definitely done before, and I paid for it having acne afterwards. And I think that we know that one of the main causes, in addition to like bacterial overgrowth and hormonal causes, is epidermal follicular plugging. We know that when you don't wash your face and there's product buildup, it can lead to clogged pores. It can lead to that ripe environment for the Cutibacterium to proliferate and for you to then have an inflammatory response that leads to acne. And so I highly recommend that you do a double cleanse every day. Use either a micellar water first or a cleansing balm. These days I've been using this Dr. Althea Pure Grinding Cleansing Balm. Love this, but I would say my holy grail has always been Bioderma micellar water, because that's going to be really important in getting that first layer of makeup or sunscreen off. Even if you don't wear makeup, I still recommend you double cleanse. And then secondly, going in with your gentle cleanser afterwards. Any product that you like that your skin tolerates well, and really massaging it gently into your skin, really getting into all the nooks and crannies of your skin, and then doing a deep, thorough cleanse afterwards. I promise you guys, that is gonna be so key if you love wearing makeup like I do to keeping your complexion clear and ready for that next day's makeup application. Off my soapbox now, and I'm gonna now move on to eyeshadow. And for eyeshadow, I'm gonna reach for one of my palettes that I've been loving these days, which is the Makeup by Mario Nature palette, which has been so amazing. Just beautiful earth tone colors, very natural, which I personally love. It just makes it so much easier to wear for an everyday look. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab a clean brush, Sigma E45 small taper blending brush, and I'm gonna grab this pink shade today. Tap off the excess and then really focus it here on the edge of my eye. And then tapering it upwards. Oh yeah. And then grab a little bit more of that same pink shade. Tap, tap, tap. And then really focusing on the edges, but also windshield wipering it and then tapering out. Just gonna do a little bit more on this eye. Then I'm gonna go and grab a clean, fluffy brush. The one I'm gonna be using is this one by Morphe, and I'm just gonna blend out those edges, really so I get that beautiful, soft, tapered look. Love this. Okay, so that base layer is looking nice and on. Same brush that I had used for that base layer by Sigma. And then next, I'm gonna go into this shade down here. Tap, tap, tap. And really just focus it now on the edge for a little bit more contour and dimension. And then windshield wiper a little bit, but trying not to go all the way. Just focusing it. A little bit more of that darker brown shade. Grab my clean Morphe brush one more time and just blend out those edges. I like this, very natural, very soft. Lastly, I am gonna go in with a shimmer today. And I think I just wanna go in with the darkest shimmer right here, this one. Like burgundy almost. Yes, love this. So eyes are done, a little bit stronger than I was maybe planning for when I first started, but still happy with it. And I'm gonna now move on to my brows. So for brows, I think what I'm gonna do is grab my Kosas Brow Pop Nano in brown black, this one. Still new to using this one, but I'm gonna focus drawing my brow actually in on the middle to outer, just following the natural hairs and going with soft, light strokes. And I'm gonna avoid actually filling in kind of the middle part of it. That's looking pretty good. One thing I have been struggling with this brow product is that it keeps breaking on me. I don't know if I'm using it wrong, but I feel like I'm using lighter pressure, but not sure. Still new to this one by Kosas. Also, I love how all of their brow products have like the spoolie at the end because it just makes it easy to just clean up the brows easily. And then I think actually I'm gonna go back into my eyeshadow palette, and what I'm gonna do is at the very bottom, this darkest brown shade that I used, tap off the excess, and I'm just gonna lightly go through my brows to give it that same nice color. And for this one, I am gonna go more towards the middle too. I'm okay with that. A little bit more. Then I'm gonna use this L'Oreal Brow Lamination 24-hour wear. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just very minimally coat my brow hairs. Alright, so brows are done. What I'm going to do next is, I think the blush that I used today, I used very little, so I do want to go ahead and use a little bit of powder to set it. But before I do that, I want to put a little bit of my powder bronzer. I'm gonna go ahead and use my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Bronzer Powder. I love the foundation by Giorgio Armani. Shout out to Desiree, one of my co-residents who introduced me to this entire line. And I just took a little bit, and I'm going to just go over some of the areas that I bronzed previously. This is gonna set those areas where I used the liquid bronzer, but also give a little bit more pigment too, so that throughout the day, that color just stays nice and put and doesn't like fade away. I did my forehead. I'm gonna grab a little bit more, tap off the excess. And the shade that I use for this Giorgio Armani bronzer is shade 90. I'm going to grab this Jessup Mole 14 brush and grab a little bit of that bronzer by Giorgio Armani. And then lightly go over those areas where I put that liquid bronzer before. That part's all done. Powder blush by Kosas. This one is the Dreamland Blushes Life color. What I'm gonna do is now grab this Sephora brush. Gonna grab a little bit of this powder blush. This one is baked, so it's not too pigmented. Tap off the excess and then lightly go over that area where I had the blush. So here. Oh gosh, love this. And then let me go ahead and draw my lips real quick. I'm really new to lip lining. I'm still learning how to do it correctly, and I have naturally large lips, so if I overline even a tiny bit, it looks crazy. So what I'm gonna do is take this Makeup by Mario lip liner in shade Smoky Pink, and then I'm going to almost definitely not overline my lips, but go even a little bit more inward. And then I'm gonna take the other side of this, which has a little nice flat brush, and just blend out those edges. I'm kind of pulling it inward. And then I'm gonna go back to that other side with the pencil and then just draw a little bit into the lip. This one is such a nice color, it like almost matches my natural lip perfectly. Once again with that flat side, just blend it out. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use my Peri Para Mood in shade 33. It's like a muted mauvey pink. And I'm just gonna go right in the center of my lips and just tap on those center of my lips. Finger, blend. And then I'm seeing that my eyeshadow, I don't love how it blended right here, so I'm just gonna take fingers and just blend, blend, blend. I think it was just the shimmer that I needed to blend out a little bit more. Using this brush too, just tap. Next is my Hourglass Holiday Palette in the light shade. I'm gonna use the same powder brush that I used for my blush, this one, and then I'm going to just go to the bottom 3 shades. So these 3, swirl, tap, same brush I used for my powder blush, and just lightly tap over areas I wanna highlight. This has a little bit of color, but also has some highlight that I mixed in. Okay, and what I'm gonna do next is use my setting sprays, and I'm gonna go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. Hold it away from your face. Grab my fan next. Just to lock things in place, I'm gonna go ahead and use this One Size Until Dawn, just a little bit. And then what I want to do now is just do a little bit of mattification to certain areas of my face where I just want a little bit more matte. I'm going to use this Sigma blending brush and grab my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish in shade Light and just take a little bit and kind of go over areas where I just want to blur as a finishing step. So this is a finishing powder. Alright, you guys, I'm gonna take my hair clips out and I'll be back for a final look. Okay, guys, so here's my final look for today. Thank you so much for watching. I had so much fun doing this makeup look for you all. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!